Good morning, Jesus Center. We're praying this vitamin boost brings timely encouragement into your life today and enlightens and empowers you to be the amazing person God made you to be. We love you.
I've really been enjoying studying the life of Brother Lawrence and how he practiced the presence of God. And today we're going to ask him a few questions and see how he responds. By the way, the book Practicing the Presence of God was just a compilation of some of the letters where he went back and forth, probably answering some of these questions that were asked to him. So, Brother Lawrence, what is prayer? For me, prayer is nothing more than a sense of God's presence, an overwhelming awareness of divine love. Brother Lawrence, how do you pray? I have abandoned all particular forms of devotion, all prayer techniques. My only prayer is attention. I carry on a habitual, silent, and secret conversation with God that fills me with overwhelming joy. Don't use a lot of words when you pray. Long discourses will only distract you. You will get lost in all those words. Instead, be like a beggar who can neither speak or move, but simply waits at the gate. Come silently without words into the divine presence. That reminds me of Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 2. It says, don't be quick with your mouth or hasty in your heart to utter anything before God. God is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few. Brother Lawrence, he taught us too, though, that all of us are, unique, and therefore the way we relate to God will be very particular to each person. So he says each of us may have unique ways of seeking God's presence. We have our own ways of really entering into God's presence. So he says, let your own spirit's invention guide you. So be led and just be you. Be you. Where do you pray, Brother Lawrence? He would answer, you do not need to go to a church to find God. Your mind can be a place of prayer, a sanctuary. Your thoughts are arrows, so make God the target. Why do you pray, Brother Lawrence? Well, God's presence is our only goal, and love is the only currency we need. An interior conversation with God, it'll bring you great pleasure, but the pleasure shouldn't be your motive. Do not seek pleasure, seek only love. And the pleasure is only a side effect. This reminds me of 1 Corinthians 14, verse 1, pursue love. Now, Brother Lawrence, I'm feeling really shameful. I feel like a spiritual failure. What should I do? This is his response. Don't do violence to yourself. So many people fail to grow closer to Christ because they're only focused on their sins. But they forget the thing that they were created for, to simply love God. So we don't need to be discouraged about our failures. He says, I get up immediately from my falls and then I carry on as if they never happened. He says we do not need to worry about sin. Jesus Christ took care of sin. Now we shouldn't spend any time thinking about it. Instead, we should focus on learning to love God with all our being. Well, Brother Lawrence, how should we go through these spiritually dry seasons? Brother Lawrence would say, well, God has infinite treasures to bestow. It's our blindness that gets in the way. It's our lack of awareness that blocks the divine flow of grace. And he says that God actually tests our love by sending us times of dryness or where prayer seems pointless and tiresome, but he just encourages us to remain committed to prayer during those times, especially during those times, because we will grow spiritually. Brother Lawrence, I feel like when I'm at work, I'm so stressed out that I am getting myself out of God's presence. Do you have any advice? He would say, God doesn't go away just because we're not praying. That is why I continue to walk with God. When I do my work for God rather than to impress others, then my work actually brings me to God. What he's saying is that, when our motive at work is really just to glorify God, then that's all bringing us into the presence of God. But I think when we're trying to impress people, when we care so much about what people think and what people are saying, I think that's how we get out of the presence of God. Here's the last question I want to ask him. Brother Lawrence, I know we're supposed to love people well, but how can we love people without letting them hurt us? And here is his answer. Love others without being attached to them. Our love for others should never draw us away from God. All else, including our love for our friends, should be surrendered to our love for God. When we do this, we don't need to fear the loss of those we love, for in such loss, we are still in divine presence. Now that's powerful. He's saying love people without being attached to them. Don't be afraid of their rejection, because people will come and go, but the divine presence will always be there.
Thanks for listening to today's Vitamin Boost. Have a love-filled day, and we look forward to connecting with you at church on Sunday and back here again on Monday.